What's up, everybody? So glad to be able to connect again on this amazing podcast we call the Daddy Discussions with the Three J's. And my name is JR. I'm one of the three J's, but couldn't do it without the other 2/3 of the daddies in the podcast. Jeff, Josh, how are you guys?
How's it going?
Good.
All right. Glad everybody's here. Glad we're nice and prepped up for this amazing discussion today. Today's topic is all about sports and competition. I think this is one of those scenarios where it hits every parent, hits every family. If you really want to try to show the world how great your kids are, you put them in sports, right? That's what we do, right? That's what we do. So I think it's something we need to start off with. But let's like we always do. Let's start with the Bible. And in Isaiah 40, I think we can all agree that sports have come a long way since biblical times. There aren't a lot of references to sports in the Bible. There's a few, but not a lot. One of the most uplifting verses in the Bible tells us that the Lord gives strength to the weary, increases the power of the weak. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. I don't know about you guys, but maybe some of the marathon runners out there can use a little of this. What do you think? Also, I'm sorry?
Not a marathon runner.
No, I'm not either. If you see me running, you probably should start running too. Just want to throw that out there. If you're giving God all the glory, the sport arena can be offered to God as an act of worship. But I want to start off by saying, let me admit that this episode is going to be a little different. I'm going to lean on the other two guys of the other two parts of the three J's here because my kids are extremely young, 2 and 5, and they're only in gymnastics. So you'll hear them give a lot more expertise in this area than I will. Let me tell you. Guys, I want to start off with this first question here. What sport activities are your kids involved in? Jeff, Josh?
Growing up, I was involved in, basketball was a big one for me. My grandpa got me into golf really young. Those were kind of the main two. I was kind of that athlete that was good at a bunch of things, but not great at any of them. I ran track in middle school, played volleyball a little bit, but basketball and golf were my main two. As far as like my kids go, this might be getting into another question, but Raylyn is in softball. She's my oldest, and then my other two, they're just doing dance, so they're not really not quite old enough to be into sports yet either. But
Josh, anybody?
Well, I can remember doing t-ball, football. I think that was short-lived. I think mom was like, yeah, football's out. I remember playing basketball for a little bit. I played soccer, middle school and high school. That was the one I stuck with. And then really outdoors, fishing and hunting growing up, I think were a lot of the activities I participated in. So
What about your kids?
Man, we've given karate, soccer, gymnastics. Right now, Adeline's really fallen in love with gymnastics, so we'll probably stick with that. And I'm actually coaching Eli's soccer team this spring. So
Wow.
I think he might be the next Pele. He's quick.
is he?
Yeah, he's got the hair for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, nice. That's awesome. So is there a sport that you would say your kids are, really gonna, you said it's obviously soccer, but is there anything that you can say, okay, this is the next greatest athlete in this sport for either one of you two?
Oh man, as much as I love my kids, I don't know if they're going to be the next greatest. But Raylyn is steadily getting better at softball. She actually, in her league she plays in, she actually is playing with the older kids.
Wow,
She tried out and made the older kids team. So
nice.
she loves pitching. And she's getting pretty decent at that. So I mean, hopefully she's the next Montana Fouts.
Oh yeah.
One can only hope.
Yeah. But you, Josh?
Yeah, I think Eli could really stick with soccer and get good at it. He'd stop, playing with bugs and watching airplanes in the sky. He's quick, and he can actually control the ball with his feet.
Well, that brings me up in another question, a little bit off script on this question, but it just popped in my brain. What do you guys think about like travel sports? You guys see travel sports being in the future of either one of your kids?
Yeah. last spring, I actually started and coached Raylan's travel ball softball team. It was a bunch of 7 and 8-year-old girls. But travel ball, at least in the softball world, is becoming a big thing. It's a big, big thing.
It's a big commitment for a parent too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought that far into the future, but I mean, I guess if you get good enough, that's kind of something you got to sign your kid up for. So
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm bringing that up is when I grew up, and again, my kids aren't at that level yet because they're still so young. But I know I played a lot of travel ball, and my mom was, you know, she didn't have a lot. I mean, my dad was traveling, building his business, so it was mostly my mom and I, and you know, you think, okay, if it's throwing around number out there, say it's $150 for a kid to play a sport for a season. Well, that doesn't include the uniforms, and then if they do travel ball, there's a whole nother, like, you got to get hotels, you get all. So how does the cost factor play into that?
Oh man, that's a big one for sure. I know when I started her team, that was the main thing, is we wanted to keep the cost down. But even then, like, we tried our best. We stayed local, so we didn't have to like do the hotel room and travel out of state and airplane tickets and all that. Because again, they're just 8-year-olds, right? We don't want to burn them out too easy. But staying local and getting the bare minimum as far as like uniforms and things, and it was still $600 a kid. You know,
It's amazing. How about you, Josh?
yeah, it can add up quick. I mean, we were looking at what we're paying for just gymnastics, karate, and soccer right now, and that's just for 2 kids. Colton hadn't started anything, so
They say this is my youngest one, so that's,
yeah. So I mean, at some point, you almost have to say, okay, you can do this or this, but you know, you can't have 3 kids doing 3 different activities all the time, or you know, be paying an arm and a leg for.
Yeah, wow. Do you think that, you know, talking about kids and how good they are and the possibility of travel ball and all that things that future holds in that, does the sports you played as kids factor into the sports that they're playing today? Like, I mean, so you said you played a little soccer, so now your kids are playing soccer. You said you played baseball and golf, and your daughter's playing softball now. Do you think that plays a big part in trying to push your kids towards a certain sport, or does it not?
I think for me, my wife grew up playing volleyball. And like I said, I was basketball, and golf. But my wife's family is big on baseball. So when Raylan was growing up, I mean, we were living in California at the time. We'd always be watching the Angels, and they're big into baseball. And I played slow pitch softball, and I think just her being around that as a kid, kind of picked it up. And I honestly, because when I played, I was a pitcher for slow pitch, and I think her seeing me being a pitcher is what kind of pushed her into wanting to try it at least. And then she tried it and loved it. But yeah, I think that if your kids get into the sports you like, I mean, it just makes it easier for you to help them be better at it, because you know what to do, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you can share that passion with your kids, what else, you know?
Yeah.
If there's anything better than that.
Yeah.
Definitely wanted all my kids to try soccer. Adeline, she was out there doing, you know, hair and ponytails on the soccer field. It's like, Adeline, get the ball. So, you know, we're not going to push them to do something that they're just not interested in. But I mean, I hope my kids enjoy being outdoors and camping and fishing and that kind of thing when they get a little older. So,
Does another off the script question here, because my mind's going a lot of places here. I love this topic. I played so many sports in high school and college that, you know, I'm sitting there, I wanted my kid to go this route or this route, and almost because I'm a fan of a sport, I want my kid to play that sport. I love golf, so I'm like, I gotta get my girls playing golf. But do you guys see in your lives with your kids that being a fan of a sport is driving your want to for your kids to play that sport more than just the fact that you played it as a kid? Does that make sense?
I think so. Like, I grew up playing basketball, but I'm not, as ironic as it sounds, I'm not a fan of basketball. I grew up playing it and I loved playing it, but I don't like watching it. I don't like the NBA. You know, it's not fun for me to watch. I do love turning on a good golf tournament on the weekends and watching
Yeah.
the Masters or the Open, or you know what I mean. And then with Sarah, she coaches volleyball, so the girls are around volleyball a lot. And when Sarah's in the thick of coaching it, the girls are running around the house with the volleyball and passing it, and, you know, and I'm always having to yell at them not to play the volleyball in the house, you know. So yeah, I think if they see your love and passion for a game, it definitely leads them to want to be a part of that as well, for sure.
That's really, but
Yeah, I mean, my kids see me coming home from, you know, duck hunting or, you know, deer season. I take the boat out and go fishing, and I can see that interest. Like, oh man, I can't wait till I'm old enough to go. They don't know how miserable it is sometimes being cold and wet out there.
you're not seeing anything.
They may not see anything, but you know, I think they see me, you know, and I'll turn a soccer game on the weekends, and I think that kind of piques their interest. You know, the stuff that I'm interested in, they feel like they want to figure it out too. So yeah.
It's funny, I see your shirt there, Jeff. And I'm a huge Preds fan, and growing, I was original season ticket holder, all that stuff. And when I watch a game, like the game was on the other day before we started filming, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she goes, "Daddy, what team do you like? What team do you want to win?" And I said, "Well, the yellow team." She goes, "That's the team I want to win too." And I think that's part of this question is just like, you know, that because you're a fan of something, your kids automatically want to follow the lead,
Yeah.
and so that guides me into another question. Is there any sports that your kids have tried that have been a, you know, maybe it wasn't like, you know, you said soccer was Adeline, but is there something that they may have not have done with, and you're like, baby, that's probably not for you. They can't
Yeah.
comprehend that.
Yeah, Adeline really didn't. She didn't even fight us on trying. You know, we like them to at least try things for a couple seasons, maybe do a full year in it before you give up on it. But yeah, we didn't even try with soccer. She was completely not interested. Karate too. She did it for almost a year or whatever the season was, and then she just didn't have an interest in it. So I feel like soccer was kind of that's a no-go for her. But
What about the other two? Anything?
Eli's we're going to continue to keep Eli in karate just because of I think it's a good form of discipline, and you're learning respect for others and manners and how to treat others in social settings. So, and I think definitely with soccer, he's fired up about this season, and you know, it might be a little different tune after he figures out Dad's coaching his team. Because I feel like I'm going to be a pretty tough coach. You know, I want the kids to win, and I think that's important for them to have, you know, the tools that they need to go out there and do their best.
Yeah, about you, Jeff?
Man, sorry, I had to think about the question for a second. Ray has she picked up softball and is that's it. She hasn't really shown interest in any other sports, other than volleyball. But out here, you know, growing up in California, volleyball is like football out here. Like they've got boys leagues, they've got girls leagues, and they start young. And out here, they don't start until middle school. So, and they only have girls. So once she gets old enough, she said she wants to do that, which is fine, because I'm a big proponent of, I mean, if you look at all the major superstars like in the NFL or all the pro athletes, a lot of them were multi-sport athletes, right? Like
for sure.
There's Patrick Mahomes, he got drafted in the MLB and in the NFL, right?
Kyler Murray is another.
Yeah. So there's lots of, you know, and as long as and volleyball and softball are opposite seasons. So if she wants to do both, you know, why not let her do both?
But
Jordan, she likes to play catch in the yard whenever I'm out there with Ray, and that's about it.
She, for now.
Yeah, she has strictly told me she does not want to play softball, which is fine. I'm the same way, right? Like if they don't want to try it, I'm not going to force them. And it was like that with Ray. You know, we played travel ball, and it was a lot for her. She got burnt out, and she told me, she's like, "Daddy, I don't want to play softball anymore." at all. And I said, okay, like that's fine. And we took the fall off, and I made the mistake of selling all of her softball equipment. And spring came around and she said, Daddy, I think I want to play softball again. So I had to get all new softball equipment. And you know, she had her first practice with her team yesterday, and just seeing the joy that she has playing that, I was like, all right, she really does like this. Like you always kind of have, I don't know about you, Josh or JR, but I always have that worry of like, is she playing this sport because I want her to play this sport, or is she playing the sport because she loves to play this sport? Then she loves it. She's out there playing with those big kids, and she loves it.
How many weeks into gymnastics are y'all now?
Well, it'll be 3, but
Okay.
the second week got snowed out,
Mm.
so we're on a second week. And I tell you, when Annie comes home, like it's just ear to ear smiles, and
Yeah.
she literally like. So we get done. I think it starts at 4 local time here in Nashville. Gets over at 5. Get home, do dinners, and she's still smiling the whole time.
Still talking
Go to
about
dinner, get ready for jump in the bathtub, get ready for bed, and she's still smiling the whole time. And then the first night we met, which was 2 weeks ago, it was like 10:45. She's still rolling around in the bed. I walk up there, babe, what's going on? You got to go to sleep. She goes, I'm just so excited. I can't think about think about gymnastics. I want to go back. Can I go tomorrow? I'm like, no, baby. You got a week now. It's just. But she gets that from me. Like I'm ADD when it comes to stuff like that. If I get into something, I'm 100% into. I think you guys know me.
Yeah,
Say
yeah.
that. It's just
I had that with Ray Thursday night. After her first practice, she was playing shortstop, and one of the older kids hit a pretty solid like line drive pop fly, and she caught it.
wow.
And like her coach was all excited, and she was all excited, and she
fired up.
yeah. And then when it was her turn to at bat, she had a good couple line drives to the outfield.
Heck yeah.
And she came up to me afterwards, because this may be a whole nother episode, but I made the choice of I'm working on me not being the over intensive parent, right? I'm not coaching, I'm not nothing. I'm just dad this season. Like I was like, I don't want to force her to do something. If she wants to play, she'll play. So I'm just sitting in the stands, not saying a word, just letting her do her thing, right?
You're literally gonna. That was my next off the script question: is how are you as like compared to the crazy parents you always hear in the stands? How are you guys?
I was a crazy parent when I was coaching her travel ball team. Like I was like, we need to be out there every day practicing. We need to be this. We need to eat, breathe, and sleep softball. We need to do all this. And she got burnt out, and I was like, man. I had to check myself, right?
Sure.
And I realized that she got burnt out because I was pushing her too hard, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's why I made the decision. Like, if she wants to play, she'll approach me about it, and I'll just be a dad and be in the stands.
Yeah.
But to finish my story, so she gets in the car, and it was late practice. Our bedtime for us is 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it was like 9:30 by the time practice got over. And she gets in the car, she's like, Daddy, I'm not tired. I'm so hyped right now.
Let's go.
I can't believe we caught that fly ball. But by the time we drove home, she was in the back seat. And she was out.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so funny.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how they get into it when they really love it. Like
Yeah.
What about you in the crazy dad scenario? I mean,
Yeah, I had a couple situations last season. I think what gets to me is when a coach isn't pushing the kids and they're just kind of like, oh, just let them have fun. But no, I mean, we're here to learn a sport, and how to. Practice is practice. It's not just fun time. So yeah, I had to bite my tongue a couple times last season, but we'll see how it goes this year.
I love that question because a few years ago, I would say, in college I played basketball. I played in high school, and I tore my ankle up real bad in college. Couldn't play anymore, so couldn't jump. So I was like, how can I still get into the game, play the game? So I can't play anymore. So a couple years ago, I started. I was a referee for high school girls and middle school boys basketball. And I did it for about a season and a half. Loved every second of it because I still got I was part of the game,
Yeah.
But I was also seeing these kids really enjoy it. And about the 5th game of the season, I went to a school locally. It was actually a private school, believe it or not. Christian ran private school. And I was, about halfway to the game. It was a high school girls basketball game. And this, girl, she carried, which, if you know the rule in basketball, you carry the ball. And so I called to carry. father gets up, starts F-bombing me.
Ah,
Like,
No, no.
I'm gonna see you out in the car whenever you get down. I'm like, no, we're at a Christian private school here. Like, what's going on here? Like, this guy, like, did you watch your daughter? Because she just carried. And she also traveled, but I didn't call that, you know. But anyway, so it's always interesting to see how parents react to their kids because they think every parent says their kids is the best in every sport, right? Then sometimes you get out there and really not. And then it's hard for them to react to that. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this: youth sports today, and youth sports whenever you guys were kids, how much different is it, or is it any different at all?
I think it's way different. I think the advances they have in training and technology to help them train nowadays is breeding some of the best athletes we've ever seen, right? I went and watched good family friend of ours plays their daughter plays basketball, so we went to watch their final game of the season, so we went to watch it. And the boys game was right after, and I saw that all these high school kids, all these high school boys run out onto the court and start warming up. And I was like, man, the high school athletes from back in my day when I played basketball, like we were just a bunch of lanky, skinny kids running around, and now these kids are muscular and like jumping through the roof, and it's crazy, man.
But you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's been advancements in teaching kids sports, but man, I feel like just because I witnessed it firsthand last season, like at a young age, it just seems like they're teaching everybody's a winner, and you know, there's really no reward for winning a game or you know, being the best team in the league of the season. So I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but I know when I was a kid, there was a first place, a second place, third place, and
for sure
nobody else got a trophy. So
right.
Handing out medals for effort is, I don't know. I think it might be teaching kids that putting their best foot forward isn't that important, or doing their best every time is what they should be teaching kids at an early age.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the great things about sport is not only learning how to work within a team aspect and how, his role is vital to my role, and all of our roles together create the team as a whole and how we're going to perform. But also it teaches leadership. Mm-hmm. It teaches drive. It teaches how to physically if you work hard at something, you can get better. I think there's a lot of things in this, and if, to your point, if every kid gets a trophy, are they really learning all those things? Yeah. And that might be, going into a whole lot other topics socially and economically, things like this. But I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Jeff?
I actually had to have a talk with Raylan about that this year, because she's coming out of coach pitch, and when they first get into t-ball, the rules are like the outfielders have to come play, and like you have to rotate, like everyone has to play in the infield, right? So everyone gets the infield playing time and everyone gets to bat. And I told her, I was like, you're taking pitching lessons, and if you don't work at it at home, you're not going to get put as a pitcher. You got to work at it to get better. You got to practice outside of once a week with your coach. And you're playing with the older girls now. So if you don't practice at home and you don't get better, there's a chance that you're not going to get to play, right? Because we're out of that little league mindset where everyone gets a turn.
Right.
And if you don't put forth the effort and you don't get better, you're not going to play. And you're just going to ride the bench or be in the outfield and not get what you want to do. And we had that talk, and again, leading back to me not being an overbearing coaching parent, right? I told her, I was like, I'm not going to force you to practice at home. If you want to practice, you come tell me and we'll practice. And after I had that talk of like, you need to practice to get better, but I'm not going to force you. And it's been good. She's been coming to me, a couple times a week, like, hey Dad, can we go pitch in the, in the front yard, or can I put the net up in the garage and hit off the tee and, stuff like that. So I think she's kind of picked it up a little bit. But yeah, there's definitely that mind shift, that mindset change, yeah, for sure.
Wow. That's, I think that kind of, in gymnastics, obviously, it's way more practice than anything. Right? Well, from what I can see so far, I've only been in there twice, but I mean, if there's as you go, it's like I mean, it's just 1,000 kids in this room. They're all doing different practices, and they're doing this, and they're going around, and they're doing all the things. And my first thought was, man, they're printing money here. That's the first thought. The second thought was, man, these kids are constantly just practicing. And there's, family goes to our church here that his daughter, they're on the usher team with me here at the church that we go to, and his daughter is 16, maybe 17. And she's done it her whole entire life, and she goes 5 days a week. He spends a lot of money every month for that training, but she's like borderline U.S. Olympic trial quality. I mean, I was the first night I went there. My kid was doing the very first night, right? Annalie was doing learning how to do a flip and everything. She comes in and she goes and does the vault, and all of a sudden I'm sitting going, I'm watching her do the vault, and I was amazed by it. And then she's doing the floor exercise and going, "Oh yeah, my kid's here. I gotta watch my kid." Like, not that the reason, just she was just so good at it. It was like amazing to watch a kid whenever you get that much training, that level, to excel at that level. Like it's pretty amazing to watch. So, and I think like you guys are talking about, if it's really not just sports, it's anything. If you want to get good at something, you've got to put a lot of time and effort into it. I think. One of my favorite sayings is every expert started as a beginner. And, if you don't put time and effort into it, you're not going to get to the expert level. And I think, all these sports we're talking about get you there. I want to ask one last question. And this question is kind of a little bit off the script here, but it's something that I think is vital for us being dads is how much or how little of time are you actually putting into your schedule for kids' sports? What I mean by that is because there's families that I know of, maybe us, I don't know, that's something we could talk about, but I know families that they have 3 or 4 or 5 kids, and it's like literally every night of the week they got something, and it's affecting their marriage because they're every night they go to work, come home, get the kids, go straight to sports. There's no dim time, if you will. And it's starting to affect other things in their relationship. How do you guys feel about that? And what does that look like in your lives? It's a big question.
I'll say as far as like my marriage with my wife, we have our busy seasons.
Great way to put
it. Springtime when Maryland's playing softball is a busy season. She's got practice 2 or 3 days a week and then a game. When she was travel ball, it was practice twice a week and a tournament all day on Saturday, right? And then, the younger 2 are in ballet, but that's only one night a week. So it kind of gives us a little bit of time. We'll have like a Tuesday night or a random Wednesday night to kind of spend some time together after the kids go to bed. But we definitely have to be intentional about it. Because if not, you let the busyness catch you and it'll catch you off guard. Like Josh and I were talking out in the parking lot before we came in. I was like, man, this weekend it's like nonstop. As soon as we woke up this morning, it's been nonstop.
Wow. You okay with everybody?
Yeah. I think I just hit a new setting on my chair there.
Lord, I got so excited about this question.
Yeah, I just read the answer, man.
But no, that's the main takeaway is like you just got to be intentional. Like where you have time, spare time, you got to put it into your marriage, right? Because if you let the kids' activities overtake, you'll never have time. You'll never make an effort,
Because I think it could also affect your relationship with the kids too. Because their only things they're seeing is going, right? What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some weeks all I see is like the kids in the rearview mirror as we're going from A to B to C all week long. But I don't know. I feel like we do a good job too of just saying no. Like if it's karate one night and it's not a team sport, that they're not letting their team down or anything, and we just are burnt out for the week. Like we might skip karate one week or just to have dinner at home. But yeah, I mean, we usually do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday activities, and then Friday nights are kind of our family time. We don't try not to really plan much on a Friday. So, but it can get busy. I mean, and by Friday night, it's like, well, where did the week go? I feel like I haven't seen you all week, babe. But
I think we've are learning that ourselves because of all the time things we've got. I mean, I think January we're talking about, we're filming now. It's in February, but in January, every single weekend we had 2 or 3 days going on every single weekend. And then we had all this stuff going on at work and trying to build businesses and stuff like this. And like you said, it's just you pass each other in the hallway. Hey, how was your week? See you next week, that kind of thing. And that's the last thing you want to get to. And also same thing with your kids. Last thing you want to do is their association with their childhood is just sports and not, hey, did I spend time with my dad? Did I get to know my dad? Like, what's he about? Like, what did you do? And I think that scheduling, especially when it comes to sports, are extremely important. How do you guys feel about continuing the scheduling topic, like sports or activities on a Sunday, or it's church day, like, or how do you guys feel about that?
It's ironic you asked that question because we actually have practice tomorrow after church.
Doesn't say,
Guilty. But my thought is I'm not running the team, so I'm not making that decision of when to have practice, and it's a team sport. So there's other girls relying on her being there, right? Don't get me wrong, we're not missing church to go to practice. And even the coach said on, last practice, he's like, one parent was like, hey, we're gonna be running a little late to practice because we got something going on. And coach was like, I'll be coming in on 2 wheels after church myself. So, even the coach is like, we're going to church and then having practice afterwards. I just, as long as it doesn't take away from the kids being in church, I don't see too big of an issue with it. But I mean, that's just my thoughts on it,
Josh, baby.
I agree. I mean, I think if the kids still know that church is important and we just don't go to church during basketball season, then I don't think having a practice or even missing a Sunday here or there for a game is, I think, we might have talked about it a little earlier. People can use their abilities and their God-given talents as an act of worship to God. So I don't think God is mad at us for maybe spending a Sunday in the outdoors and worshiping him in all of his beauty one Sunday.
You make a valid point. I mean, if we're called to reach the lost as Christians, and there may be people on that team that girls
are lost,
that are lost, that they're showing that, hey, we're coming in from church because it's important to us. We're here now because this is important to us too. Maybe a girl asks, and then, hey, what does y'all do at church? What is this church thing?
Yeah.
Their family don't go. I don't know. There's an opportunity there for them to be disciples, right?
And with technology, and there's, if you like happen to have to miss a Sunday, right? There's every church has got an online service, right? So you can just pull it up on your phone while the kid's out on the field getting practice, right? I mean, you're not in the actual church, the building, but how many times does Pastor Barry say the church isn't the building, it's the people inside of it, right? So,
man, this is a deep conversation.
I could go for an hour.
I think we could too. Let me ask you this: like, did either one of another off the script question? I'm going wild off script here, so bear with me here.
It's fine.
What does your wife think? Like, did your wife play sports growing up? So is it as important? I guess follow-up question: did your wife play sports? Number 2, is it as important to them as it is to us? If that makes sense, as dads with the kids.
I think so. My wife actually went farther in her sports career than I did. All of my stuff. I mean, I still play golf on the weekends, but I wouldn't really say that. I wouldn't call it a sports career by any means, right? But I stopped all my competitive sports in high school when she took volleyball into D1 college, right? So she knows, and she was when I first met her, she was more into sports, and her family was more into sports than I was, and they kind of brought me in, So I definitely think that she has her, she's nothing against cheerleaders out there. I preface this saying, okay, but my wife is like, our daughters will not be sport supporters. They will be in the sports. They won't be cheerleaders.
My wife can't hear that. My wife was a cheerleader.
But you know, but that's
It's funny.
you know, the competitiveness in my wife,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But no, she's super competitive and understands the,
Is she a part of the push for the kids in sports as you are?
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, she eats, you know, ate, slept, and breathed, or however you want to say it, volleyball growing up. So she's like, I want our kids in volleyball. And I was like, well, I played basketball growing up. Like, I want to play basketball. We really like baseball. Why don't we try softball? Like, she's like, no, volleyball. And I'm like, but they're young. Let's try other things, you know. But we have the height on our family. Like everyone in her side of the family, even my wife as a woman is tall, right? And then my mom's side of the family is all over 6'5". Like my grandpa was 6'9". Her dad is the shortest in her side of the family at 6'4". So like our kids are gonna hopefully be fairly tall, which will help them in the volleyball world.
Sure.
Um,
Josh, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, my wife played. She was a pitcher. She played volleyball. I think she gave up volleyball to keep pitching in high school.
okay.
But then nothing after high school. But yeah, I mean, she's all about the kids. If it were me, I feel like sometimes I'd be like, let's just skip activities this week. But she pushes the family and wants them at every practice and game, and so I definitely think we're a good match when it comes to getting the kids involved in stuff, make sure they're getting all the experiences they can have at that age.
What was it? Whose idea or whose thought was it to get Annalie in gymnastics, or was that kind of Annalie's choice?
A little bit of both. My wife played like me, sports most of her life, even into I think high school. I don't think she may have played softball in college. I'm not sure. I know she played high school softball. Was pretty good at it. That was a big sport. She also was a cheerleader, so gymnastics was an easy talk for her to say, let's push the girls to that. For me, it's like I want my kids playing in the putt pass. I mean, I want them playing on Augusta, and I want them doing all the things, you know. Haley needs to learn how to hit that golf club. Whatever she wants to do. I'm like, hey, and whatever she wants to do is and play. That's what she needs to do. So, yeah, I think when it comes down to pushing her into a sport, I don't know if pushing is the right word, but I definitely like we need to do things. Like I feel like my 5-year-old just started gymnastics. I feel like we're already kind of behind. Like she should already been doing this for a couple of years, or she'd be far on. Like obviously that's a little stupid, but it's just my craziness in my head. My youngest, I think she's going to be more of the athlete. Honestly, she's a lot like me in a lot of things. I'm gonna say that my wife was an athlete. I'm saying I was like it was. I hate to use this word, but growing up, it was like wake up, go to school, sports, go to sleep. Like that was my life when I grew up. Like, and you know, if it wasn't for sports, probably wouldn't be here. Like it was a extremely important piece of my life growing up, and I still think it is. So
here's an off script question for you. How important is it to you guys to make sure you're involved in the kids' extracurricular activities? Because I love my mom and dad to death, but like when I hit a certain age, I never saw them at games, right? And I still think about that to this day. Like the only game they ever came to in high school when I played basketball was the game I tore my ACL, ironically.
Oh wow!
But like they worked so much that like they just never came to my games, right? Yeah. So I make it an effort to like if they've got a dance recital or if they've got game, like I'm there, right? Yeah. Is that important to y'all guys?
It's drastic. It's similar. My mom was at everything that she could because she was working so much, and my dad was traveling so much, so he missed. I think in 20 years I played baseball, and 15 years I played basketball. He probably went to 6 total games.
Oh wow.
Maybe, and that's maybe pushing it. Not that he didn't want to. It's just life happens, right? Yeah. So, I can't miss it. Like I can't miss it. Like we've got a little structure in our house that Tuesday nights we're going to swap. Like so, I've taken her last week, so Ashley will take her next week, and but I'm probably going to end up showing up. I just want to I want to see it. You know, like it's a part of my drive and my passion. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I can't make something, it's like, headgummit. Like I really wanted to be, even if even if Tabitha's completely available to take on, it kills me not to be at even just a practice. But yeah, I mean, I think last soccer season, my wife and I both were at every soccer game. I don't think, even though it was, sometimes all day at the soccer field on a Saturday, I think we both
Well,
wanted to do it.
the very first one, like again, sorry to jump back in, but with Annie, the very first one, like smile ear to ear, can't
Yeah.
sleep that night.
Yeah.
Every time she did something and she did it, she's looking over at me going, "Did you see that? Did you see
Yeah,
that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
you're on the sidelines like,
yeah. She's like, "Wow, the kid just rolled." I'm not holding up signs like my kid's a grass, whatever. And she just did a roll. Whatever.
yeah.
That's where I'm gonna be. I can see it already.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to probably kick me out. Someone be standing up in the back row, like pacing back and forth, doing this thing. I mean, that's gonna be me.
We have some good friends of ours who I don't know if y'all have heard of the Tennessee Heat organization, but it's a sports organization for homeschool kids, and their son is the quarterback for the football team. And we went to one game and he was, getting sacked a lot, and she's like, I gotta go on a prayer walk. So she just starts walking the football field. Like she just couldn't, right? She was so into it, and she's just like, I can't watch. I gotta go on a prayer walk. That's what she called it. And she just starts going and starts pacing the track around the field. And,
So we all go to the same church, and there's a kid that goes to our church. He's a high school kid. He just got signed to play football at a pretty renowned college up in Kentucky, and he played at a pretty large high school here in Nashville. And I went to a lot of games, and I'm sitting there like critiquing it because his dad's a close friend of all of ours too, and I'm sitting there going, man, he needs to make sure his foot's off that. Right? Watching the thing, play football, and I know like he's offensive lineman. I'm like, his footwork's gonna be rough on this one, or oh man, he's gonna knock this kid over. I can see it coming. Like I'm stressing out, and it's not even my kid. Like I can't even imagine what I'm gonna do when my kid gets to that age. Like, it's gonna freak me out. Well, guys, this has been an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good topic. I think we might have to have a part B to this episode in the future. What do you guys think? This could go on for a while. But anything you guys want to add about kids and Rugrats and playing sports? Anything before we close up the shop here?
I think it's just important to remember that it's, when your kids are starting out, it's important for them to learn the game, yes, but if they're 7, they're little kids. Like it's not, I had a parent tell me, or I've seen it somewhere. Maybe I saw it on Facebook on like one of the sports pages I'm on. It was like, college scouts aren't going to your 8-year-old daughter's softball game. And I'm like,
It's not there.
Man, that hits home a little bit. Maybe I need to step back.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good point. That's a good point. I have to remember that when my 5-year-old does a flip. I'm not.
Yeah,
Anything less?
like Jeff said, it's especially at this age, it's about the kids. Like they need that. You can have fun watching them, but make sure they're having fun too, because otherwise they're gonna get burnt out on it and not want to do it anymore.
Well, that's been another great episode of Daddy Discussions with the 3 J's. As always, our purpose here is just to tell the world how much we love our kids, love our wives, and doing the best we can do. We may not always do it the right way or the way that it's written in the books. If there is a book, I don't know. Is there a book? I don't know if there's a book.
Probably is.
Anyway, so we're doing the best we can, and we are leaning on each other, learning from each other, learning from you. So if you like what you hear, make sure to go to all our social media pages, hit the 5-star likes, give us a share, do all the things that go along with social media that I'm not good at. But if you have any ideas for future episodes, make sure to give us an email. Tell us, give us some options, give us some ideas, give us some things that you want to hear from us in the future. And at that email address is daddydiscussionspodcast@gmail.com. As always, guys, we love you. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.
Bye.